Air Force Base information, Zulu 1055. Sky conditions clear, visibility 7, winds estimated 050 at 6, altimeter 3019er.
Soft, Captain Hunt.
Where'd you come down from?
Tower, Gator 4-2's number 119 with 2.
Sonata 1, Roger, Gator 4-2, hold short, waiting minute release. Clear, 901, report to me, final runway 19er. Sonata 1, Roger, check load down, estimated wind 050 at 732, land runway 19er. Sonata 1 is able to connect next taxiway, contact ground off the runway. Gator 4-2, estimated wind 050 at 734, takeoff, change to departure. Gator 4-5, estimated wind 020 at 5, cleared for takeoff, change to departure. Radar contact. When reaching...
The primary mission of this base today, the development, test, and evaluation of conventional armament and associated weapon systems for the United States Air Force. Eglin Air Force Base, a landmass of 724 square miles with another 86,000 square miles over the Gulf of Mexico. A generation of piston-engine fighter pilots practiced gunnery and tactics here. Generations of combat aircraft and their weapons were wrung out over the almost jungle green. In laboratories, shops, and ground facilities, decades of work, experimenting, planning, problem-solving to assure the success of our aerospace forces. Eglin Air Force Base, a center of change and a force for growth ever since the first runways were laid down back in the 1930s. Valparaiso Airport, 1935. You could throw a ball across the runway. You could throw a ball from one end of Valparaiso to the other in those days. Unemployment was the longest word in town. But there was a man on horseback, a local businessman and airplane buff. He wanted to bring new business into town and make some jobs. His name was James E. Plew. Plew accomplished what he set out to do. By 1935, the Army Air Corps Valparaiso Bombing and Gunnery Range was open for business on land leased by Plew to the Army and later donated to the War Department. An early survey by visiting officers reported good roads, good climate for flying, and plenty of room to practice gunnery, an area sufficient to accommodate one squadron. Disadvantages: no night flying, no radio beam, soft sandy soil along the runway. Quarters: frame huts and tents, 25 cents a day for washing the sheets. Meals for officers: 35 cents each or $1 a day. 20 cents a meal, 60 cents a day for enlisted men. Everybody came here in those days. Major, later General Claire Chennault, Flying Tiger's boss in 1942. Second Lieutenant Paul Tibbets, future pilot of the Enola Gay, and later Brigadier General. Captain, later General William H. Tunner, who ran the Berlin Airlift in 1948-49. On 1 January 1937, a pilot on a routine flight from Langley Field, Virginia, was killed when his Northrop A-17 attack aircraft crashed in fog and rain in the Appalachian Mountains near Montgomery, Alabama. Lieutenant Colonel Frederick I. Eglin. On August 4 that year, the Valparaiso Bombing and Gunnery Range was designated Eglin Field. The work going on here at that time and through the next few years would make substantial contributions to American air operations in Europe and the Pacific in the war that lay ahead. Beginning in 1938, the rapidly changing course of world events would irrevocably shape Eglin's history. The Japanese onslaught through mainland China and Indochina. Appeasement at Munich. The Hitler-Stalin Pact. The Nazi attack on Poland. The fall of France. The Battle of Britain. All would force a reevaluation of United States air power doctrine. And that brought change to Eglin. For some time, all Army Air Force fighter pilots trained in the eastern United States would come here for gunnery training. But the mission emphasis began to shift to something more. The first proof testing began at Eglin back in December 1939 on the Allison engine for the Curtiss P-37. In 1940, P-38 suitability tests began. Test pilots found the same kind of problems they find today.
That thing handles like a truck.
Poor visibility.
The engines aren't powerful enough.
Cockpit cooling system leaves a whole
The
lot
gun
to be
sight
desired.
doesn't work.
My gun's
The
jammed.
cockpit switches are badly arranged.
As the foreign situation continued to deteriorate, General Henry Hap Arnold pushed for expansion and development. Eglin started to build laboratories, technical buildings, ranges, all designed for a flight test program that hadn't really begun. Construction would add up to over 800 buildings and 30 miles of runways located on over 500,000 acres of land. Eglin officially became the Air Corps Proving Ground in May 1941.
All right, now
Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
From 1941 on, all new aircraft and their modifications were flown at Eglin before they were accepted for combat. The consolidation of previously scattered testing activities at Eglin paid off. Improved results were obtained in aircraft, in their systems and equipment, and the tactics developed for combat. Major steps were taken in the development of new weapons and ways to employ them. Low-altitude bombing, including skip bombing techniques, were refined at Eglin. The fighter-bomber concept, another Eglin development. Early in 1942, flying their B-25s from one of the outlying training sites, Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle and a select group of airmen practiced short field takeoffs, low-level approaches over the Gulf, and bombing tactics. On April 18th, 1942, 16 B-25s lifted off the crowded deck of the Hornet to bomb Tokyo. That same year, B-24 crews were equipped and trained at Eglin to attack Japan from China. In 1944, when German V-1 sites in France threatened England, General Arnold initiated what was to become Eglin's contribution to Operation Crossbow, the construction of a simulated buzz bomb installation. At Eglin, techniques were developed to attack and destroy a camouflaged, hardened, and heavily defended target. Arnold reviewed Eglin test results and decided low-angle bomb deliveries by P-38 and P-47 fighters offered the best kill probability. Later, Allied scientists studied a captured German V-1 and built their own version. They learned how the V-1 was made and how it could be shot down. The first Allied version, the JB-2, was launched off the beaches of Eglin on October 12, 1944, Columbus Day.